of the judiciary, but also the very foundation upon which our nation's prosperity rests. As we appoint, whether permanently or acting, these distinguished judicial officers, we reaffirm our commitment to a justice system that serves not just the cause of justice, but the dreams of approximately 3 million Jamaicans, certainly within our borders, and those who are overseas as well, who maintain a strong interest in Jamaica through the various diaspora organizations, because they too have a critical and keen interest in following the development in Jamaica, both political and otherwise. Now, the Chevron's report of 2007 crystallized a fundamental truth in paragraphs 66 and 67, where it says that the rule of law and effective functioning of the courts and the justice system underwrite the wealth and prosperity of Jamaica by providing the legal certainty, clarity, and predictability, which are the essential preconditions of successful investment, commerce, and financial environment. The strategic importance of an effective justice system and its relationship to social and economic development is ever more true today in our shrinking global world with ever-increasing mobility of people and capital. And so at paragraph 67, he continued, there are myriad arguments to be made in support of reinvestment in the justice system. Economic and social development are hampered by an inefficient justice system which has a direct impact on investor confidence. The justice system is a generic platform on which all other sectors of society must depend and build. When our justice system fails, our democracy cannot be sustained. Justice is the bedrock of a safe and secure society and is inextricably linked to development. An efficient justice system sustains a society and facilitates its peaceful evolution. And talking about peaceful evolution, one of the things that we should be thankful for and be proud of is the build-up to this election. For those of us who are old enough to remember the days of the extreme levels of violence in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. And now, we hardly even think about the tensions surrounding the general elections, and the legal system has contributed very significantly to that by discharging its responsibilities in a very efficient, fair, and balanced manner. And something that we should also mention too is this, that the Caribbean region remains a beacon of excellence and the example of how good governance can operate, despite our difficulties, because one of the striking features of our democracy is that the executive has consistently accepted the decisions of our courts. You don't have the demonstrations and appeal to impeach judges and remove judges whenever the decision doesn't go the way that political actors would like, and for that we must be thankful for. So, an inefficient judiciary has a high cost. According to persons who have studied this, it can cost a country up to 2.5% of its gross domestic product annually. The cost manifests itself in two ways. Direct cost, that is, drain resources immediately out of businesses, out of the pockets of citizens who are engaged in litigation, escalating legal fees, lost business opportunities, the mounting administrative expenses for backlog cases, and the bureaucratic burden of an overburdened system. There are indirect costs. You have the emotional cost, the emotional toll that it takes on citizens, on litigants, and also we as judicial officers have to be mindful of persons who may use the legal system as a weapon and not as a means to arrive at a just solution. Unfortunately, I have received not many letters, thankfully, but I have received complaints from members of the public who complain that the adjournments sometimes too frequent, are actually depriving them of justice because it is now simply too costly to remain in the process. In fact, I received one complaint from a mother who was involved in a custody dispute. And she says this dispute started when the child was 4. The child is now 8. And the case is not yet finished. She was complaining about the fact that each time she comes to court, she is told that the lawyer for the gentleman is engaged in another court somewhere in Jamaica. And she is asking, well, when will this end? So as judicial officers, while we apply the technical law, and it may be sound, but every case is about a live, flesh and blood human being waiting on the outcome to get on with their lives. It's not just about the law, as important as that is. It's not just about the evidence, as important as that is, but it's about the human being. And sometimes it's not the litigant. You have a knock-on effect beyond the litigant, the family, because it takes significant resources to engage in litigation, particularly in the Supreme Court and in the Court of Appeal, where they have to come into Kingston to get their matters heard, other than the rural circuits. So just to say to the judicial officers who have been appointed this morning, keep that in mind. So as you go about your duties on a daily basis, it's not just a case, it's not just a number, it is a live, flesh and blood human being waiting on an outcome that they can make decisions about how they live their lives and organize themselves. So at this point, we have 2 judges appointed to the Court of Appeal. So they are joining a court now that for 3 consecutive years has disposed of more cases than cases coming in, and most recently last year, according to our statistician, it's 117.94%. And this makes our Court of Appeal one of the most productive courts in the Commonwealth Caribbean. Now, why is this important? Because when we speak about efficiency, there's always the argument or the proposition that it is antithetical to justice. So far, the data here and in other well-run court systems, there is absolutely zero evidence to suggest that when courts are efficient, the quality of justice is undermined. In fact, what the evidence shows is that it's the contrary. The longer the cases take, it is the worse the quality of justice. So that is why performance standards matter. So for those who still continue to make the argument, you need to actually examine the data, examine the case law coming out of the Court of Appeal, and see if you are able to demonstrate that there has been a diminution of quality of the decisions of the Court of Appeal because it has become more efficient. And if you can't, then, accept the evidence and we move on and we can have a debate about something else, but certainly not about efficiency and the quality of justice anymore. The Supreme Court, not where we need to be, but it has improved significantly first time in living memory or recorded history. So that is some 17% below where we need to be, but nonetheless we have to be thankful because we are coming from below 40%. So we are moving in the right direction. As far as the parish courts are concerned, they continue to be among the most efficient courts at that level in the Commonwealth Caribbean. And our statistician tells us in the wider Latin American region, and certainly the statistician also tells us that our legal system overall is one of the best in the Caribbean and Latin American region in terms of productivity. So the parish courts have also experienced something remarkable, and that is a reduction in the time standards. So we are now able to say that our new time standard, the outer band is 20 months, down from 24 months. So we are now saying that for criminal cases, The standard cases are supposed to be completed in, or simple cases in 90 days, standard cases 180 days, complex cases 12 months, highly complex 20 months. Why that will be possible? Because the net backlog of cases is now under 5%, which really means that there is no backlog to impede the flow of cases through those courts, something that we have been striving for and that we have now achieved that. So, but this has to be supported by appropriate technology. And this is where the Ministry of Justice, not to blame, but just to remind them that they need to provide the funding for the integrated electronic case management system that we have been talking about now for the better part of 3 years. A visit to Rwanda 3 years ago. The Rwandan delegation came here 2 years ago, and we are still at the point of talking, something that we excel at. Now, the judiciary, I would suggest to us, we have to begin to think of it, though we do so in terms of saying that it's a co-equal arm of government. But what does that really mean in practical terms? The Vision 2030 gives us, and also the Chevron's report of 2007 give us a perspective there. The judiciary forms part of the governance structure, and Vision 2030 is our plan to become a more developed society. And within that, the judiciary has a vital role to play in terms of the timely resolution of disputes. One of the indices that the World Bank uses is the ease of doing business within any particular jurisdiction, and one of the measures is the time that it takes to enforce judgments. And so the longer it takes, then academic writers are suggesting it has an impact at the rate of interest at which investors can borrow money, because the lenders want to know, is there a quick and easy but fair method to collect my debt in the event that I need to take that action? So these improvements, when we talk about the numbers and performance standards, is also our way of contributing to Vision 2030 and economic development. And so to Justices Georgiana Fraser and Justice Lorna Shelley Williams, your elevation to the Court of Appeal places you at the apex of our judicial hierarchy, at least in Jamaica. You will shape Jamaica's legal landscape for generations, because you have to keep in mind that for the vast majority of Jamaicans, the Court of Appeal is in fact their final court. The very few cases actually go on to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. So your decisions there are critical, and we have no doubt that you will discharge your responsibilities effectively. To the judges of the Supreme Court, Justices Stephanie Orr, Millwood Moore, Opal Smith, and the acting Judge Justice Kamar Henry, you are sitting in a court, a critical intersection, where, as they say, law meets life. You resolve disputes affecting livelihoods, property rights, conduct constitutional and judicial review of executive action, and create legal precedents, not necessarily binding, but certainly persuasive, both in the Supreme Court and for the parish courts. So your role there is absolutely vital. The timeliness of it is absolutely critical. So we don't want persons to be opting for suboptimal solutions because the processes take too long. And just in keeping again with data, you will notice that persons have been trying to transform what should really be claim forms into fixed date claim forms. But there's a rational reason for it. The data tells us that, because on average, the fixed date takes 3.3 years, and the claim form is 4.46. That's a reduction of 12 months. So any rational actor is going to try to convince every judge that this claim form really is a fixed date claim form, and this is where I need it to be, because there's a 12-month taking off the time. To the masters, you assume a role and perform a function that is vital to the efficiency of the Supreme Court. You are what we would call the workhorses of the civil litigation system. You manage pre-trial processes, conduct case management conferences, and ensure the smooth progress towards trial. Your work directly impacts clearance rates and time standards central to our strategic objectives. The Vision 2030 calls for Jamaica to become the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. This is not going to happen without an efficient and fair legal system. And so to all our judges here, you are vital to Jamaica achieving developed country status, if not by 2030, but not far removed from that. And so your work ethic has been recognized, your diligence has been recognized, your proficiency has been recognized, and if we note from the youthful appearance of the appointees this morning, we expect a lot of vigor and energy, and they bring, Your Excellency, not just judicial experience, but they actually contribute effectively to the other activities of the court. And the President mentioned that I'll be missing Justice Lorna Shelley Williams, but when the time came for her to go over, they started missing her from that moment, and that will continue until she returns at the end of the term. But just to make the point to persons that running a judiciary is not just about trying cases. There are other committees and subcommittees that they take up a lot of your time and commitment to get the judiciary running efficiently. And so all these ladies here have demonstrated over time their commitment to excellence and their commitment to service to the people of Jamaica, because being a judge, it is really a calling. It's not just a job. That is what is going to keep you up at 1 o'clock in the morning, or if you go to bed earlier, wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be reading and preparing and for the next day's work. So it is really a labor of love. So our business plan calls for Jamaica to have a world-class judiciary, utilizing innovation and technology for efficient service delivery. And our appointees will ensure that this objective is met. So the future of our nation rests not on distant promises, but on the daily excellence of institutions, the judiciary, that we have strengthened today with these appointments. Let us move forward together, confident in our path and commitment to our shared destiny. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. I now invite the Honorable Mrs. Georgiana Fraser, who will give remarks on behalf of the judges sworn in.
I must say I was gearing up for the second half of the Chief Justice's speech and leaning back to get that second gear, but I was disappointed. His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, the Honorable Mr. Justice Brian Sykes, Chief Justice, the Honorable Mrs. Marva MacDonald Bishop, President of the Court of Appeal, the Honorable Mrs. Zelia McCullough, immediate past Chief Justice of Jamaica, the Honorable Mr. Justice Patrick Brooks, immediate past President of the Court of Appeal, judges of the Court of Appeal, serving and retired, judges of the Supreme Court, serving and retired, the Honorable Mrs. Justice Chantal Anana Wu, Judge of the Caribbean Court of Justice, and I hope I did not do a disservice by mispronouncing your name. Members of the Judicial Services Commission, Reverend Carl Johnson, Parish Court judges, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, present and on the live platform, good morning all. Your Excellency, it is both an honor and a privilege to stand here today and offer words of gratitude on behalf of myself and my esteemed colleagues who have been appointed to the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, whether in a permanent or an acting capacity. Today, we celebrate not only individual achievements, but also collective service, dedication, and integrity that continue to strengthen and enrich the fabric of our judiciary. The Honorable President made note earlier that all the appointees are females. She also made the remark that this is unfortunate. For my part, I say that this is phenomenal. As I reflect on the appointments we celebrate today, I am reminded of the many points at which my path has intersected with many of my colleagues and at different stages of our professional journeys, whether as clerk of courts, Crown Counsel in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, resident magistrates, or parish court judges, and later as judges of the Supreme Court. In some cases, I have shared experiences with them in all these capacities, witnessing their growth and steadfast commitment to justice. And this has been both humbling and inspiring, and it fills me with pride to stand alongside them today as we take on new responsibilities in the service of justice together. Now, it is therefore only fitting that we pause to acknowledge and celebrate their achievements and to extend our heartfelt congratulations as they assume their appointments. Standing with me as a fellow appointee to the Court of Appeal is my colleague, Justice Lorna Shelley Williams. This is not our first occasion being sworn in together. I had the honor of welcoming her to the Court of Appeal in an acting capacity in January of 2024, and I am honored to do so again today. To be sworn in once more alongside Justice Shelley Williams is no mere coincidence. Chief Justice, be warned, but providence itself. Our paths have moved in rhythm, sometimes side by side, sometimes intersecting at decisive moments. Today, as we took our oath, it felt less like chance and more like a herald of greater things yet to come, not just for us, but for the continued strengthening of justice in our nation. I first met Justice Stephanie Orr when she became a parish court judge in 2010. Although our paths crossed for only a short time then, she left me with a clear impression of being hardworking and determined, someone who could get the job done no matter how daunting the matter. That impression has only strengthened over time. Justice Orr wishes to thank her family for their unwavering love and support. Although her late parents, Eileen and Chester Orr, are no longer with us, their influence endures, especially her father's, whose footsteps she proudly follows in the Supreme Court. She also acknowledges with gratitude the guidance of Justice of Appeal, Mrs. Nicole Foster Puisne, Miss Justice Gloria Smith, retired, Mr. Patrick Foster, King's Counsel, Mr. Crafton Miller, and Miss Monique Harrison, all of whom contributed to her growth and development. Justice Sharon Millwood Moore is a seasoned practitioner of over 20 years at the bar. Our paths first intersected when she commenced her prosecutorial appointment at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Our subsequent courtroom encounters always left me with a deep respect for her preparation, skill, and delivery. She acknowledges the goodness of God in guiding her journey and expresses heartfelt gratitude to her family, friends, church, and community for their steadfast support. She credits her parents, Joyce and Bertram Millwood, both devoted civil servants, for instilling in her the values of honesty, discipline, and integrity. Values reinforced by the love of her stepmother, siblings, and wider family. She is especially thankful to her husband, Dwight, and their children, Sena, Savannah, and Dimitri, whose patience and sacrifice during the demanding years of advocacy made this moment possible, and whose lives she hopes will be inspired by the example of discipline and hard work. She acknowledges her mentors, Dr. Eileen Boxhill, King's Counsel, and Ms. Paula Vanessa Llewellyn, King's Counsel. She regards her many exchanges with judges, past and present, as memorable and enriching. Specifically, she continues to be guided by the wisdom of President McDonald Bishop, Justices of Appeal, Ms. Jennifer Straw and Ms. Paulette Williams, as well as Justice K. Beckford, retired, Justice Marjorie Cole Smith of blessed memory, and many other judges of the Supreme Court. Justice Opal Smith is another colleague with whom I share a professional journey. I first met her about in 2002 in St. Mary, where she was then assigned as a clerk of courts. Our paths crossed again at the office of the DPP and later in 2008 when she became a resident magistrate. In 2022, she was appointed to act as a Puisne judge, and today that service has culminated in her permanent appointment to the Supreme Court. Justice Smith honors her parents, Mr. H.F. Smith and Mrs. Elmine Smith, as well as her siblings Cherie, Dale, Tanis, and Naomi, for their unwavering love and support. To her daughter Shadi, affectionately known as Handbag, she credits you as her grounding rock and greatest inspiration. And Justices Judith Puisne and Pettigrew Collins, she extends heartfelt thanks for your mentorship and guidance that continue to shape her journey. Master in Chambers, Mrs. Lushana Jackson. I first crossed paths with her in 2004 at the Halfway Tree Court, where I was a new resident magistrate and she a freshly minted clerk of courts. She was then still sporting her father's name, that is, Miss Ramsey. We both learned resilience in one of the country's most demanding courts. Her journey reflects hard work, resilience, and determination to succeed. Today, she also honors her village, whose love and support has helped her shine. And that consists, amongst others, her parents, Celia and Gillette Ramsey, her husband, Omar, her children, Lucas and Luna, her mother-in-law, Mrs. Nigel Jackson, and her siblings, Jason, Kenisha, Gregory, Philippa, Melissa, and Martin. We also acknowledge Your Excellency, the judicial officers who have been entrusted with acting appointments, Justice Tracy Ann Johnson and Justice Kemar Henry Anderson, as also Masters Christine McNeil and Yvette Wentworth Miller. Your Excellency, I make bold to say that together, these appointees represent strength, continuity, and the bright future of our judiciary. All these appointees have risen steadily through the service as clerks of court, prosecutors, counsel at the private bar, parish court judges, proving their hard work and perseverance that they are well suited to the higher office and calling of the judiciary. I have every expectation, and it is my sincere wish, that those serving in an acting capacity will in the near future be permanently confirmed so that their full contribution to justice may be secured. Your Excellency, for me, this moment is one of deep reflection and humble appreciation. After serving in an acting capacity in the Court of Appeal intermittently over the last 4 years, I have always been mindful that the permanence of such an office lies not in one's own hands. Today's appointment marks the end of a long and faithful chapter of waiting. This is the beginning of a new, fully committed chapter. I am deeply grateful for the confidence that has been reposed in me by Your Excellency, the Honorable Chief Justice, the Honorable President of the Court of Appeal, and the Judicial Services Commission. I thank you for the opportunity to serve in this esteemed court. I am deeply conscious of the solemn trust that accompanies this appointment to the Court of Appeal. As our national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey reminded us, the ends you serve that are selfish will take you no further than yourself, but the ends you serve that are for all will take you into eternity. I take these words to heart. This appointment is both humbling yet weighty. It serves as a reminder that the role of a judge, and particularly that of an appellate judge, is not to wield power, but to safeguard fairness, ensure clarity in the law, and uphold the rights of every citizen who looks to the court for redress. It is a call to serve, not ambition, but justice. This moment is not just an honor for myself alone, but a responsibility I accept on behalf of the people of Jamaica, and in faithful service to the rule of law and the principles that sustain our democracy. In accepting this appointment to the Court of Appeal, I pledge to serve Jamaica faithfully, guided by the principles of justice. My journey through the justice system has not been an easy road, but it has been a purposeful one. I began my legal career in 1995, fresh from the Norman Manley Law School, with my first assignment as a clerk of the court in the then resident magistrates court in the parish of St. Catherine. That 3-year-long experience taught me the rhythm of courtroom life from the ground up and grounded my understanding of justice at the community level. From there, I sojourned to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, where I was privileged to contribute to the administration of justice at the national level and to gain a prosecutorial perspective that would later inform my work on the bench. In 2004, I returned to the courtroom, this time as a resident magistrate, a role now recognized as judge of the parish court, where I had the honor of dispensing justice on the front lines of the system. Nearly a decade later, in 2013, the Honorable Mrs. Justice Zelia McCullough, the then Chief Justice, offered me the opportunity to serve as an acting puisne judge in the Supreme Court. In 2015, I was appointed to that office on a permanent basis. That journey has now brought me to this seat in the Court of Appeal, a place I regard of great responsibility and even greater duty. Your Excellency, I am proud to say, mine has been a journey marked by service in almost every tier of the judiciary. Each phase has brought new insights, new responsibilities, and a deepening respect for the solemn duty that we as judges are called upon to fulfill. To those of my colleagues who now join the ranks of the Supreme Court, I say this: the path we walk is not always easy, but it is noble, vital, and deeply needed. Our commitment to impartiality, discipline, and justice is what underpins the rule of law and secures public confidence in our institutions. But Your Excellency, my story did not begin in a courtroom or a law library. It began in the quiet corners of childhood. It was shaped by people, more so women, who poured their love, wisdom, and discipline into my life. At the top of the list is my beloved grandmother, Mrs. Iris Johnson-Cuff. Though now long gone, she played a pivotal role in my early development. I was not what you might call a fast learner. In fact, I struggled in my early years at school. The art of reading, which came easily to others, was difficult for me. During that difficult period of my formative years, some unkind persons would probably have labeled me a dunce. But Grandma Iris never let that define me. She made me feel seen, capable, and worthy. She convinced me that with enough effort and belief, I could achieve anything I set my mind to. In the latter part of the 1970s, while attending primary school, to secure a place at what we called a traditional high school, you had to face the dreaded common entrance examination. My grandmother paid for extra lessons, and I don't know where she got the money from, because, truth to tell, we were a poor working class, subsistent farmer type family, so money was scarce. Honestly, we were poor but ambitious. So sure my grandmother was that I would succeed in securing a free place at the Hampton High School, she bought me a pair of brown leather shoes and a matching satchel. I was happy and relieved that I had not disappointed her. And for the first year of high school, I wore those shoes and carried that bag with great pride. Sadly, Grandma passed away while I was still in first form, but her belief in me has followed me every step of my life's journey. After Grandma's passing, I moved to Kingston to live with my mother, Mrs. Rita Foster Castell, of blessed memory. She was a force to be reckoned with, sharp-witted, no nonsense, with an acerbic tongue that could cut you to the quick. But she was endlessly encouraging. She would often say to me, "Put your head to your lesson, my Puisne, and don't make no boy come fool you up and blight your prospects." Mama always encouraged me to reach high, to keep striving, and to go after what others might have thought was beyond my grasp. Mama stood by me through high school and beyond, through marriage, the birth of my 2 children, and many, many crossroads. We never always saw eye to eye, perhaps because we were so much alike. But Mama was a solace and a source of strength when I needed her the most. I must also honor my maternal aunts, Lolita Cuff, who is deceased, and Merlina Cuff Mackenzie, who is with us today, and standing in the role of matriarch. These 2 women were mothers to me in every sense, showing up for school events, guiding me through the mysteries and growing pains of girlhood, and stepping in whenever I needed them. Auntie Merle, as the surviving embodiment of my grandmother and mother, I salute you. To my sister, Desiree, otherwise called Angela, my confidant and partner in crime, you are gone but not forgotten. I must say a personal and deeply felt thank you to my spouse, Mr. Paul Fraser, my unwavering partner in life and on this journey. Your Excellency, when I decided to pursue studies at the tertiary level, I was a poorer woman than I am now, married and with 2 children. My chosen course of study would take me overseas, but it was not a step I took alone. For 2 years, while I was away in Barbados, Paul carried the weight of home, raising our 2 children, including our baby daughter, who was not yet 2 years old when I first boarded the plane to Barbados. Paul managed somehow to juggle the chaos of diapers, homework, school runs, his own work, and everything in between, all while holding our little world together with quiet strength and remarkable grace. He balanced demands of work, parenting, and life, all while giving me the freedom to pursue my goals without guilt or hesitation. It was never easy, but he never made me feel like I had chosen ambition over family. Quite the opposite. He cheered me on, pushed me higher, and celebrated every milestone as if it was his own. We do not always see eye to eye, as any honest couple would admit, but his support has never wavered, not once. He has been my rock, strong, steady, and constant. Thank you, Paul, for standing by me through thick and thin, for believing in me when I doubted myself, and for giving me the space to grow while holding our family close. I am endlessly grateful. This moment is yours as much as it is mine. My beloved children, Paul Jr. and Peter Gay, I cannot thank you enough. The demands of this profession have not always been easy to carry. Studying late into the night, working weekends, missing school events, you have borne those sacrifices alongside me and often without complaint. I thank you for your patience, your support, and your love. There are a host of people who have been and still are mentors to me in my professional journey. I run the risk of offending because I might inadvertently omit names I should call, but here goes. The late Mr. Dennis C. Morrison, retired President of the Court of Appeal, my former teacher, and the man who stood for me and called me to the bar in 1995. Mr. Justice Lloyd Hibbert, retired, who took me under his wings like he did so many others at the DPP's office and made me one of his proteges. Miss Justice Gloria Smith, retired, always dispensing sage advice and constructive criticisms. President Marva MacDonald Bishop, who did not regard any assistance as too great to offer. Mr. Justice Patrick Brooks, now retired, President Patrick Brooks, now retired, kind and helpful in steering my initial journey in the Court of Appeal. Ms. Justice Jennifer Straw, my resident magistrate, who in my salad days I was her clerk of courts. She was influential in my decision to aspire to become a judge. There are many other judges past and present whom I wish to thank. Mrs. Ellen Radlin, my supervisor at the National Family Planning Board, the woman who encouraged me to return to school and realize my dream of becoming a lawyer. Last but by no means least, my greater family members, my Uncle Lockett, my siblings, Dean, Denzel, Marie, and Shelley-Ann, I thank you. Your Excellency, all these people, along with many others, helped me along the path of my journey. Whether through encouragement, tutelage, or some other act of kindness, they contributed significantly to my growth and development. Their assistance has been priceless. On behalf of all of us receiving appointments today, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to, first of all, God, who has seen fit to favor his handmaidens. I would also like to thank the many who have walked this road before us. Thank you for lighting the way. Thank you for challenging us, mentoring us, and believing in us. We are all mindful that we stand on your shoulders. You who have shaped our professional lives with wisdom, constructive criticism, and encouragement. To our families and loved ones, thank you for standing with us through long hours, through thick and thin. Your Excellency, on behalf of my colleagues and me, I assure you that as we assume our several responsibilities, we pledge to uphold the highest traditions of impartiality, dignity, and humility. We are mindful that each decision of the court has consequences and extend far beyond the courtroom, shaping not only the lives of individuals, but also the confidence of a nation in its institutions. As the late Honorable Robert Nesta Marley once reminded us, every man has a right to decide his own destiny. In guarding that right, the court must remain steadfast, independent, and fair. The scripture teaches us in Micah 6 verse 8, "What doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with thy God?" Those words capture the very essence of judicial office: justice without partiality, mercy without weakness, and humility without compromise. We are mindful of the privilege it is to serve, not for ourselves, but for the people who look to the courts for fairness, clarity, and justice. We pledge to continue to serve with the same integrity, independence, and discipline that have always guided us. My colleagues, I challenge you to accept these appointments with humility and gratitude. and a renewed resolve to discharge your duties with integrity and fairness. I challenge you to commit yourselves anew to the promise of justice for all in a timely manner. Your Excellency, we make a solemn promise to continue serving with honor. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Fraser. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the ceremony. On behalf of the Governor General, I thank you for attending this important ceremony as a mark of your support for the newly sworn-in judges and of your respect for the judiciary. Congratulations to each of you judges. We wish you every blessing in the execution of your duties. I will ask the judges to come to the center for a photo opportunity, and after which, ladies and gentlemen, I will say thank you once again for attending this ceremony, and I do ask you to have a wonderful day.
On how to mark your ballot, easy and confidential. When you receive your ballot, take a moment to read it carefully. Mark your ballot clearly with an X beside the symbol of the candidate of your choice. Use only the pencil provided. Make sure it is visible.